Hello and welcome back to the Junior Markets YouTube page. I know it's been a little bit since I've uploaded, my bad. But since this is a channel and a website for all of finance, see here it says finance for the next generation, and finance is kind of broad. What we're doing in our video today is going over finance internship interview questions because I just finished the whole process. I got an internship, and so we're going to go over some of the process that I went to, some of the preparation, all of that type of stuff to receive offers from investment firms, industrial companies, whatever you want for accounting, finance, all that type of stuff. So, starting off, it's not really too difficult in terms of technical questions because it is an internship, and most of the time you don't have to have previous work or previous experience. So they're not expecting you to kind of know all the technicals. A lot of what they said in the interview is, we will teach you how our business works, the stuff you have to know, how our programs work, all that type of stuff. We just want to make sure that you have a passion for it. So when you're explaining to your recruiters, the most important thing that you can have is passion, a love for what you're doing, whether it's finance, accounting, or whether it's marketing, sales, whatever it is. This can apply to pretty much any internship interview in any field, but I will kind of center it towards finance because that's a lot of the ones that I applied for, whether it was wealth management, analyst, internal audits, sales, marketing, stuff like that. So as always, we got to plug the website first though. So it is always nice to have some baseline knowledge going into these about finance. Most of them are juniors and seniors. You can find one for sophomores, but it is nice to know a little bit about the market as a general, where the S&P 500's at, the NASDAQ, the Russell 2000, just kind of somewhere where the indexes are at, where the world economy is, because you can kind of throw that into questions. But heading on over to Google Docs, this is where I built my full interview prep. So most of my interviews were on Teams, as most of the interviews are. Some of the later ones down the road, second or third in line, they would be in person, but pretty much the first and second rounds were always on Teams. And so the first thing you want to do is start off with the business. So I'm going to use this as an example because this is where I'm currently interning. So TIAA, great company. So the first thing you want to know is all about the business, and pretty much every company has an about section. They tell you about their story, what they do, all that type of stuff. So some companies, if they're publicly traded, they have a 10K, earnings calls, investor relations, all that type of stuff, and that's great to look through because they give you all of that information on the required paperwork. But for private companies like TIA or family-run companies, they don't have to report all of their stuff in a 10K and a balance sheet, all that type of stuff. So they'll always have an about me where they talk about what the company is. You want to know this inside and out because a recruiter will ask you, why do you want to work here? What do you like about our company? What interests you? What do you hope to learn from this internship? So not only is it important to know the business, but know exactly what the guidelines are that you're applying for. So when they ask you this, you can use keywords from the job description in your answers. So if it's about finance and they say you'll be presenting to upper management, you're going to talk about how you've been presenting in your classes, or you've presented in the past, and that's one of the reasons why you're excited. Or you're going to analyze portfolios, or you're going to look at new documents, or whatever it is. Use words like analyzing so that they can kind of picture you in the job description because you're mentioning words from the job description. So make sure you know this about folder inside and out. You want to know everything about the business because for TIAA, I was asked not only about TIAA, but they asked, do you know anything about the business? And so I was able to talk about their headquarters, where they are, how big they are, stuff like that. And I was able to use that in the why do you want to work here? Because they have great recommendations. They have great reviews. And so that kind of showed that I did my due diligence. And so not only did I talk about TIAA, but they also have CREF, which is right here. And so I was able to talk about all of these things. And so that's kind of what you want to do. You want to bring the business into the conversation and show that you know about the business. Because when they ask, do you know what we do? And you're able to explain that, not only does it save them time, but it also shows that you know what you're talking about. Next up is all of the behavioral questions. Now, a great place to go for this, which is free, is a website called Glassdoor. Hold on, wait a second. It's loading. So what Glassdoor does is they take a bunch of people who have gotten internships, haven't gotten internships, rejected offers, accepted offers, and you can search by job. So you could search intern, and then they'll tell you a bunch of similar questions. And so this is what really helped me. It kind of gave me exactly what I was going to be asked. And so for finance interns, it's pretty much just a lot of behavioral, like why do you want to work at this company? And I had 20 interviews, and they pretty much asked this in every single one. It was the same behavioral questions pretty much across the board. And so here are the main behavioral questions you want to know. First up, tell me about yourself. You want to start this off with, they don't care where you went to middle school. They don't care where you went to elementary school. They don't care where you grew up. You want to start this off with, here's where I got my love for whatever major it is. Mine's finance. Tell them a quick backstory about why you have a love for whatever it is and why you're studying it. Not because you want to make a lot of money, but because it's significant to your life in some way, shape, or form, right? And then walk them through your resume, because they don't care about what you did in high school. They don't care about what you did earlier in your life. They want to know what you've done in the past few years. So walk them through your resume. Start chronologically. So first semester, here's what I did. Second semester, here's what I did. And if you don't have a lot of experience, I would suggest joining clubs or getting experience. But if you don't, then talk about your classwork or passions that you have outside of school. Some of these recruiters would ask, tell me about yourself, and they would ask for stuff other than finance. So I would talk about how I love running savage races or other things that I like to do in my life to show that I have a passion for not only finance, but other things. I have a life outside of the business world that is important. But for the tell me about yourself, walk them through your resume chronologically. Tell them why you love whatever you're studying in school. And then at the end, tell them what I did was I incorporated some of the characteristics from the job description on Indeed or whatever it was at the end. So it said, we are looking for people who love working in a fast-paced environment, who love solving problems. They use words like innovation a lot. So then I would say at the bottom, well, I'm looking for a company where I can work with a hardworking team in a fast-paced environment. And that's exactly what I believe your company has to offer with this internship. So that kind of focuses it on them and shows you that you not only have an interest in this, but also in their company. Guaranteed questions you will be asked first, second, third round, however many rounds you go through. Why do you want to work here? Where do you see yourself in 10 years or your career in the future? What do you hope to gain from this internship? So a lot of these things are synonymous across so many internship interviews, and you need to be able to answer them. So what I like to do, and you can obviously read through some of my examples, but why do you want to work here? Well, when I was researching your company, always a great start. When I was researching your company on your 10Ks or your website, you talk about helping people. You talk about, don't talk about the money. Talk about what really interests you and why you're passionate about it. I said I want to take my passion for business and finance into a company that helps move the world forward and try supporting a multitude of different brands, partners across the world. This is for a company called Scheffler. And you have a lot of workplace awards, so you can read through these, but you want to talk about, like, what do you hope to gain from this internship? Incorporate a bunch of stuff from the job description and the listing, so that all of those keywords are also being used in your answers, so that they know that you want this job that they're offering and that you're going to be passionate about it and that you're ready to learn. What they want to know is, are you ready to learn? Because you don't know everything. They want someone who knows that they don't know everything and is ready to learn. So some other ones include a time where you had to solve a problem, strengths and weaknesses. So for weaknesses, don't say I'm a perfectionist. Horrible. One that I like to talk about is delegation. So because that's something that I can easily fix. I can work on. I have stories on how I've been working on it. When you talk about your weakness, state the weakness and then tell them how you've been working to solve it or how you did solve it. And then strengths, talk about the strengths that directly correlate with the interview that you're going into. So if it's analysis, talk about how you have analysis strengths by analyzing data in whatever project it may be or stuff like that. Tailor it to the specific internship. And then you have a bunch of other different behavioral questions. A time you overcame adversity, proudest achievement, time that you failed. All of these could be things that you're asked. So my main advice is have stories for all these questions. Again, if you go back to Glassdoor, you can get a great idea of all the questions that you're going to be asked. I took this. Actually, that's for cybersecurity and forensic. I took this and I would go through all of them and I wrote them all in the Google Docs and I came up with a story and answered all of them, and then I memorized them and I practiced them. And so when you read them or when you talk to your internship, whoever's leading the internship, about it, don't just read it off. Talk like a human. Put some passion to it. Like, I was working with Smith and then we got to present to our firm, which was really cool. I really enjoyed that. I love presenting to people. Like, show them how passionate you are. So my main tips are come up with all of your stories beforehand. And then at the end, they might have a why should we hire you? I was never asked that. And then they're going to ask, do you have any questions for me? Yes, you always have questions for them. At least one. My favorite was, if I'm chosen to move forward, is there anything I can do to prepare? Because sometimes they'll have Excel tests and they didn't tell you about the Excel test throughout the interview, but they told me at the end because I asked this question and I was ready for the Excel test. So sometimes there are extra steps that you get into because of your questions. So then you might be able to ask, another question is that I liked was, what are some of the challenges that interns face in this role? How can I prepare for them? So just to show your initiative, stuff like that. So that is my main tips for internships overall, but also finance internships, because for my 20-something interviews, these are the main behavioral questions I was asked. It was all just behavioral questions. And if you have your stories down packed, and make it something interesting. One of the questions I was asked was, what's something you've been researching lately? And this is where it helps to love learning and have an interest for knowledge, because my answer, not to brag, but it was about how I've been researching the prefrontal cortex, which is a crazy answer. But she said, that was a very interesting answer. Most of the other people talked about how Vanderbilt just beat Alabama or something like that. But then that got me interested. That got her interested in me. And it got me moved on to the next round, and then I eventually ended up getting an offer. So try and find stories that distinguish yourself. Try and find parts about your life that you're passionate about and that you can explain to other people. So, like I said, heading back over to my website, because gotta plug the site. But main interview tips: know all your stories for all the behavioral questions. Use Glassdoor; it's a great resource. Know the business inside and out. Practice your stories, have questions at the end, and then for the tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell them it shouldn't be more than about a minute and a half or 2 minutes, because then they get bored. Start off with a couple sentences or a little bit of talking about why you have a passion for this industry, how that came about, and then walk them through your resume chronologically, as well as some of the most exciting or some of the best experiences that you've had throughout the past few years in college. Or it could be in high school, but try not to, because it's better if it was in college, because they don't really care about your high school life and beforehand. So those are my main tips. Thank you so much for watching. This is the Junior Markets website. Check out our website. We go through all the things that you need to become a good beginner investor. I build you a good foundation, I promise. As always, don't take this as investing advice. And thank you so much for watching.